So Chris, thanks for doing this webcast with us. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was, so here you are, and you're doing this play that's got a lot of kids in it, and you're a dad, and the one thing I've been wondering is when you go into the rehearsal room to work with them, do you bring your dad skills or your director skills?
Oh, great question. Well, I think I bring a little bit of both, and the wonderful thing about the company of kids is that they're all really, really talented, and we try to keep a festive atmosphere in the room and allow their creativity to come to bear. But one of the important lessons you learn as a dad is where to draw the line and when to start getting serious.
Yeah, I know. I fail at that being a dad, knowing where the line is. Usually my daughter sets where the line is.
It moves around a lot, but we have a lot of fun, and in particular, our youngest actor, Emilio, has all these wonderful bits to do because, of course, the story is just so full of comic gems.
Yeah.
And he is throwing himself into every single one of them, and so we're laughing all the time in rehearsal.
That's great.
Which it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah. Now, you're in a little bit of an unusual situation as a director because we did the show at the Rep 4 years ago. So you've inherited a set that works in a certain way. We've got 3 amazing actors in Howard and Nancy and Dan who are doing the show again for the second time. But all the kids are new. So how, as a director walking in, there are certain parameters that are set, there are a lot of things that you can move around. How are you finding that right now in rehearsal?
Well, it's been, frankly, a challenge going in, but now that we're in rehearsal, mostly because I wanted to really honor the great work that John and the Rep did and all the creative team in bringing this play to bear. And yet at the same time, I felt like it would be appropriate to sort of freshen it up and tweak a few things here and there. And there were a couple of big things that we did, and what's really lovely about it is that Dan and Nancy and Howard are just game to try things. So one of the first things that we did was Dan and I talked about the approach to Ralph, the narrator, because one of the big differences...
Sure, because he's got to be up there and he just talks and talks, and he's invisible to the other characters, and,
exactly
and he's got to figure out how to solve that from an acting point of view.
And at the same time, he also has to really engage the audience in taking this journey back in time. And find a way to sort of make all of that fresh and present for himself. So he's not just simply telling the story, but he's learning something and discovering things and acting. And to Dan's credit, it's just he's bringing his charm and charisma to the table, and he's really playing around with things. He could phone it in, and nope, he's attacking this beautifully. And then Howard and Nancy both have a kind of comic coupling that is just really remarkable.
They are literally a couple.
Okay, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
They're literally a couple. And the funny thing about Nancy is that she's got just a sharp mind and really remembers everything clearly. And Howard is much more improvisational, and he's always trying to sort of make things up again, in the course of his mind. So not only do each of them try to sort of figure out what the moment is about, and then I enter into the fray, and then we deal with our memories, and then we try to make it fresh. And the joy of it all is that everybody is just so game. And I think the audiences are going to really respond to that.
Good. So in working on it, have you found that all of the actors, including and maybe especially the kids, have been able to leave at the door everything about the movie? Moments, line readings?
We actually don't ever talk about the movie.
Good.
We just talk about the moments in the play, and we just kind of plow into the story because it's really like a string of jewels. There's a lot of funny, fabulous little moments. And because it's all live and staging it, it feels very, very different from the movie. It's all the kind of plucks all the right chords, has all the great moments that you're looking for, and yet the power of liveness does something very, very different to it.
Absolutely.
And if I found anybody trying to give a line reading from the movie, I'd probably smack them.
Or you wouldn't remember that it was.
Yeah, there we go.
If we've left it. You mentioned the other day that some of the changes that you're making involve, one of them is involving more music in the production.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, I find the music really sort of helps support moments in the production in a major way. And of course, in a play that has fantasy sequences, which are just, kind of step out and are heightened moments.
Wild, surreal
moments. that you're given permission to really sort of frame those and punch them up and be really big and outrageous. And then come back down into a gentler, more real side. And then when you weave into that all this quality of narration, and particularly episodic narration where they're just flipping through the calendar pages. It's literally, Dan, it's like, and then on Sunday, and then on Monday, there's a great opportunity to really kind of use music to not only sort of help the kind of emotional context, but to help propel the story. Yeah. So, and again, the team has been so wonderful in just sort of embracing that I've been listening to a lot of music on, on my way to rehearsals. Right. And we also get to play a lot of music in rehearsals, which makes it a lot more fun.
Good. Yeah, it's always good. And that's one of the things that I love about the way we do things here at the Rep is that whatever you need, you're going to get it in the room.
And the great example of that was that we were talking about a simple little lever that 99.9% of the audience won't ever see. And half an hour later, in comes 3 beautiful little hand renderings of 3 different kinds of lever with a little Post-it note saying, which one do you want? Yeah. And we just stopped and laughed and looked at it and said, well, this one seems to be the most right. And on we go. And next thing
we are spoiled directors, and I like it that way. One of the other things I wanted to chat with you about is, this set is very complicated, isn't it? The double revolve, the donut revolve. And I'm sure from your perspective, just, trying to figure out how that would work in the staging of the show is one thing. So now you're directing the kids. Do they actually grasp when things are going to be moving around them and what they have to do, or is that a big amorphous thing in their mind?
I've got my fingers and toes crossed that they're grasping all of that. However, we have a great stage management team that's constantly reminding me. So it's I get the benefit of both worlds. Yeah. I get the imagination of how does this machine work where one thing turns one way and another thing turns another way, and they turn on different times and music cues happen, and can somebody step on it and ride it in, which is something that I love because it's like a reveal.
So theatrical. Yeah,
it's so theatrical. And so again, it's a remarkably collaborative process, and I'm just hoping it'll stick. Because once we get on that revolving, moving set, it's all going to feel different. Yeah. And by the time audiences come, it'll be old hat, but it's exciting, actually.
Yeah, and I know that our shop is really excited to be remounting the show because it's giving them, this is a complicated set, and it's giving them an opportunity to go in and make it even better and add a couple of things and refine some things that maybe the wheels are a little noisy the first time, and I know that they're working hard to
everybody's really excited about the machinery because it's going to be quiet and it's going to be smooth.
Well, and it's one of the things that we do really well here. I mean, our technical staff are just, when you want to do stage automation, and they're as good as anybody in doing that kind of work. So it's a strength.
I've seen a lot of shows here, and I've always expected high production values, and you always deliver. And in particular, now working with this team, it's easy to understand why. Another idea is that we wanted to make the Santaland, the Goldblatt's episode, just feel a little bit more exciting. Yeah. And there's a wonderful little component, which I won't give away. But we thought, well, maybe we could take a piece from another scene that had lights and flew in and move it here. And my initial response was, I'm going to offer this as a suggestion and then back right up because nobody's going to want to do that. That's too much work. Everybody down the line, the designer emailed me and said, oh, how about if it looked like this? And sent me, this visual of 2 elves holding the sign. I was like, oh my goodness, that's great. And Christopher jumped in.
Sure. That's what's great about our art form, though, because it's a living thing.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody ever thinks that anything is set in stone. Because even if it opens, if we had more time to work on it, we just keep working on it. Because it's wonderful about theater that every day it's a little different and we get to keep changing it. And I love the fact that we're remounting a show, but I know it's going to feel like a fresh production with everything that you're doing. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're totally welcome.
We're looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so proud to be part of your first season.
You're welcome. Thanks. And thanks everybody for watching.
You'll see the lamp.